Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another week. This week, we're going to be talking about willpower. Does anybody know what that means? Well, if not, I think you're going to learn it in this story because it's pretty great and I think you're going to learn a lot. This week, we're talking about Harriet Tubman. Again, do you know who that is? Oh, she was a wonderful lady. I think you're going to enjoy this story. So, in the year 1820, almost all Black people in the United States were slaves. Slaves had no rights. They were owned by another person and had no choices about their lives. Harriet Tubman was born to parents who were slaves, and that meant Harriet was a slave too. Harriet's mother and father could not protect her from the cruelties of slavery, and she was forced to work very hard from a very young age. She took care of babies and did work in the master's house and out in the fields. Even as a little child, she was sent out in the winter to check muskrat traps. Muskrats are large rodents that live in underwater dens and were trapped for their fur. Harriet had to walk waist deep into freezing water and retrieve the dead muskrats. Although she never learned to read or write, Harriet was smart and was always listening, watching, and learning. She was never a slave in her heart and never accepted that she was unworthy because she was Black or because she was a girl. She learned to pad herself with extra clothing for protection during frequent beatings. When Harriet was about 11 years old, she boldly refused an order from a white man to help stop his runaway slave. Instead, she stood back and let the slave run by her. The man angrily threw a heavy metal weight after the runaway, and it hit Harriet in the head. The weight broke Harriet's skull and almost killed her. Unfortunately, for this kind of cruelty to slaves was not uncommon, and Harriet wasn't even given medical care. She recovered, but she suffered for the rest of her life with pain, seizures, and blackouts as a result of the injury. She couldn't read but she was told stories from the Bible, and Harriet had a deep inner life of prayer. She always tried to follow the guidance she felt came from God, and everyone who knew her said she showed amazing inner strength and appeared to be fearless. After years of struggle and thinking about being free, Harriet heard she was to be sold and taken further south, where freedom would be impossible to find. She prayed and planned to escape. She took 2 of her brothers with her, but her brothers turned back. It was too frightening to be out in the dark woods, possibly getting lost, shot, or recaptured. Harriet didn't want to give up, but she went back with them. Then Harriet prayed and planned again. She wouldn't let anything stop her. The second time she went alone, traveling almost 100 miles to Pennsylvania, where Blacks were free. She could have stayed in Pennsylvania and lived a safe life, but Harriet felt she had to help others escape a life of slavery. So, instead of staying, she went back to the South and led others to freedom. She could have been caught and killed or sold and taken far away, but she went anyway. Harriet made 19 dangerous trips to the South and brought many of her family and friends and even strangers to a new life where they were no longer slaves. Harriet used all her courage and willpower to make the trips. There were rewards given to people who turned in runaway slaves, and anyone willing to help had to do it in secret. The people and secret places that were used to get slaves to freedom were called the Underground Railroad, and Harriet was called a conductor. Harriet often disguised herself as a man or an old person so she and her passengers wouldn't be caught. She gave babies medicine so they would sleep and not cry while they were hiding. If anyone wanted to give up and go back, she refused to let them go. A slave who went back would be beaten or killed and forced to give away secret information that would endanger others. Every trip was a double risk for Harriet because she had to travel to the people who wanted help and then travel back to the north with them. There were many angry slave owners who would have killed her for what she was doing. Yet, Harriet never gave up and never lost one passenger. Her most important trip was going back to her former home and getting her parents to come north with her. They lived the rest of their lives in Canada, where they had the joy of knowing freedom. Harriet was a small, uneducated Black woman who lived during a time when Black people could be bought and sold, and women of any race had very few rights. She had a lifelong debilitating illness that would have kept most people from even leaving their home. She was always poor and had to work hard every day just to survive. Yet, during Harriet's long life of 93 years, she repeatedly proved that by applying willpower in the right direction, with determination and an open heart, there are unlimited possibilities. Her determination to do what was right and help others was an inspiration to slaves and those who were free, to women and men, to those in the North and South, to people every race and color, and to generations who came after her. Gosh, what an amazing woman. Do you know anything about slaves getting freedom during the Civil War by Abraham Lincoln? Have you ever tried to walk through the woods at night without a flashlight? How do you think it felt to Harriet and the slaves to travel in the dark while being hunted? Do you know anyone who has character traits like Harriet Tubman? How are they like her? Have you ever stood up against someone who was being cruel to another person or an animal? Were you scared? I think it would depend on the situation for me. Thank you for coming by and listening to my story. Have a great weekend. Have a great week, and I will see you again next Sunday. Bye.